Hello, friends. Welcome to my channel. Go ahead and subscribe, like my videos, share, comment my videos. This video the subject is the NCAA college football playoffs. Uh, so the teams that are involved are Michigan, uh, Washington, Texas, and Alabama. So Michigan is ranked as number one, Washington number two, Texas number three, Alabama number four. The big controversy is that Florida State, which is an undefeated Power 5 team, did not get into playoffs. And then Georgia, with the one loss to Alabama, ranked number six. They didn't get into the playoffs. They were ranked number one for a while. But they lost the game to Alabama in the SEC championship, so they end up dropping out. Well, the big controversy is that you have the college playoff committee that makes the decision, and it's like every year it's always a big thing about transparency. What they talk about, and how they made the decision, and there's always some team that has a problem with the teams that have made it and that they didn't make it and all that kind of stuff. You know what? It's gonna just always gonna be somebody that's gonna be disappointed. Now next year, 2024, there's gonna be 12 teams that's gonna be in the playoff. Still gonna probably have the same issues. Somebody's gonna be disappointed because they're number 13, number 14. They didn't get in the 12 team playoff. Somebody has to make the decision as to what teams are in the playoff. That's what the committee is for. How they make the decision. They say they consider the schedule, the games, and all that kind of stuff. In the end, it's just based on the people in the committees, what their opinions are, and that's it. And they make the decision. Somebody's going to be disappointed. Well, anyway, besides that, for 2023, we have the four teams: Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama. Now, Texas and Alabama have one loss. Michigan, Washington are undefeated. The big thing is that Florida State, they're undefeated. They didn't get in the playoffs. Big controversy. The way I see it, it's not a big controversy. I mean, Alabama, the committees picked the best teams. And I think they picked at least one team that's the best team, possibly, for sure. And Florida State is just not one of them. I listened to ESPN radio and commentators said, well, Florida State, they realized they weren't in a good conference. Of course, they realized that they wanted to get out of the conference. And they added two SEC teams to their schedule and they beat them. Yes, they beat LSU in the beginning of the year. And I say I'm an LSU fan. And they beat Florida. Well, Florida isn't very good this year, so okay, there you go. So they beat two SEC teams, so they should be in it. Well, guess what? Alabama beat 9 SEC teams. Okay. All the SEC teams pay at least 9 SEC teams, and for the majority of them, they beat more than just two of them. Okay, so that's not, let's say, they beat two SEC. Well, look at the rest of the teams they play. Trash teams. If it was about being undefeated, then you know what? College teams will and schedule anybody to play and beat them and expect to be in a playoff for the national championship. But that's not what it's about. So get over it. And that's not saying that Michigan and Washington played a bunch of high-powered teams, because they didn't. A lot of teams on that schedule weren't worth crap, and they beat them when they're undefeated. So anyway, bottom line is, it is what it is. You know what? Texas' only big win is against Alabama, and it was at the beginning of the year. You know, at the beginning of the year, teams are just haven't really gelled, or they get better as they go along. At least that's the way it's supposed to be. So they caught Alabama at a time at the beginning of the year that they really hadn't put everything together. Not that I'm not an Alabama fan anyway. So not that Texas played a whole bunch of good teams. They didn't. Now, the SEC is the best conference in the nation. And a lot of people say, but no, they're not. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So you know what? It's just, at this time, yes, they are. Now, down the road, 10, 20 years, they may not be, but at this time, they are. Florida State wanted to get out of the ACC. They signed that deal. It's going to cost them a good chunk of money to try to get out the ACC. Well, that's their problem. They're still trying to get out of it. They wanted to be in the SEC, which that's probably where they should have been to begin with. If they were in the SEC, they definitely would not be undefeated. Okay, so get over it. You're not in the college playoffs. Get over it. Try again next year. So anyway, my thing is, the college, the playoff committee made their choices. It is what it is. Florida State didn't make it. That's fine. Even though I think Georgia probably should have been in there. And I get it, Georgia, you ranked number one most of the year. You get to the SEC championship game, you lose. You probably shouldn't have lost that game, but you did. But, it's the one game. They probably should be in the playoffs too. But they're not. And they certainly should not be ranked number 6 below Florida State. Come on now. Anyway, I don't know if there's any way, that, the playoffs can be better or decided without, just having this committee. I don't know. And I'm not trying to figure it out. They have the committee. They continue to have the committee. That's the way it is. They're going to decide next year for the 12 teams. Now, it shouldn't have that as much controversy, because if you're an undefeated team from Power 5, you should be in the playoffs. And when you get down to number 11 and 12, it should not be a problem, because when you get down to 11 and 12, then you talk about teams with losses, probably 2 to 3 losses. So it shouldn't be a big controversy, at that point. And then if there is, oh well, get over it. For the NCAA, for the basketball, they have 60 some odd teams in their playoffs. Football could try to do that, but a football game is a lot longer than a basketball game, and they play multiple. I think basketball, they play 20 some odd games, where football is about 12. And football games are a lot longer, last a lot longer than basketball games. You more than likely you could increase the playoff beyond 12, which are probably, in the coming years, it probably will go beyond 12. I mean, you have a polls that go to 25, so why don't you just have 25 teams? There you go. If you're in the top 25 polls, and you have several polls, take however many polls, 2, 3 polls, combine them, average them out, come up with your top 25 that way. That's your playoff teams. But anyway, not for me to say. I go with, I'm not on any committee, so however they decide, I have no say in it anyway. So, anyway, let's get down to the nitty gritty. So the nitty gritty is that the college playoff committee chose the teams, and that's that. Florida State, you played 2 SEC teams, okay, great. Join the SEC, put in your application for the SEC, play 9 SEC teams, and see what happens there, okay? See if you're undefeated. Go undefeated in the SEC then, if you join the SEC Florida State. That's what you do, okay? There's a big difference. Maybe the committee should really consider strength of schedule. I think that should be the really big thing. Strength of schedule. A lot of these teams got the schedule, even if they're in the Power 5. In these conferences, not all the teams are heavy hitters. I think the SEC has a lot more heavy hitters than any other conference, in the nation. So a lot of these other conferences have a lot of teams that are just, for a better word, whack. Okay. So when they make their schedule, they have a lot of soft teams. They might only have in the conference maybe 2 or maybe 3 heavy hitters, and all the other teams are whack. Well, of course, you can go through the conference and be undefeated. Okay, be undefeated. So all of that probably should be considered. It should be considered. Like Michigan, Washington, even Texas. They didn't play a lot of heavy-hitting teams. A lot of teams they played were like teams that really did not have good teams. The skill level was very low. But they're undefeated. And they're considered Power 5 teams. Alabama is the only team that played a lot of heavy hitter teams. So anyway, that's the way it goes. Florida State, the college playoffs committee, as far as I'm concerned, they made a good decision. The only thing that change I would have made was probably put Georgia in there. Because the thing was like, well, if they put Alabama in there, Alabama beat Georgia, so of course Alabama should be in there. But then if they put Alabama, they put Texas. I don't care, because Texas beat Alabama. Oh well. If it was up to me, Texas wouldn't be in there. I wouldn't care if they beat Alabama or not. They wouldn't be in there. Georgia would be in there. Washington probably wouldn't be in there. And even though I do like Michigan, they probably shouldn't be in there anyway. If you're gonna go look at Florida State, they play 2 SEC teams. They have a lot of WAC teams, but Michigan, Washington, and Texas play a lot of WAC teams too. So probably the only team that probably should be in there is Alabama, and then Georgia probably should be in there too. So anyway, it is what it is. You can't change. We're not changing it. They're not changing it. It's not going to be changed. We're going to see what the outcome is going to be. Okay. So look, subscribe to my channel. Go to Patreon. Join a tier in my Patreon. There'll be videos in there that won't be on YouTube. because YouTube censors a lot of stuff anyway. But join my Patreon, comment, subscribe. Send me, my email address is in the description. Send me requests for reactions. I am still covering Eurovision. I'm going to do a video for Eurovision Junior, which happened a month ago. But anyway, thank you, and until next time, peace.